Are there more buying opportunities for small multifamily properties here in Delaware County, Pennsylvania? Stay tuned for my latest market update. Hello, I'm Veronica Woods from Daniel Woods Real Estate Company. Thanks for tuning in to another video on the Real Estate Wisdom channel. This channel is all about providing tips, especially for new investors who want to build a new passive income stream through buying rental properties. Now, if you want to go on that journey without making 5 or 6 figure mistakes, you've come to the right place for some tips and analysis. If you're new to this channel, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and if you have any suggestions for new topics that will help you on your journey toward financial freedom, feel free to leave them below. I always try to comment back. Sometimes I'm a little slow, but I always get back to everyone who leaves a comment. In this video, we're going to be doing my latest market update on the real estate market in Delaware County, and we're going to focus on multifamily properties. And by what I mean by multifamily, we're going to stick to the small multifamilies, duplexes up to 4 units. We're not going to cover commercial grade multifamily on this video, and all the stats are going to come from our local Bright MLS. So these are properties that were sold on market. So has the multifamily market been as hot as the single family market in Delaware County, Pennsylvania? I'm going to show you some stats that are going to answer that question. But before I do that, I do want to share just a few overview stats. And so the numbers that I'll be presenting, or the trends that I'll be presenting, will be from June year-to-date 2021, and we'll look at a few comparisons with June year-to-date 2020, which, as you know, was the beginning of the pandemic period. So hopefully this will be of interest to those of you who are thinking about pulling the trigger on a multifamily, or not really sure how they should evaluate single family or multifamily. So first off, first statistic I would share is that over Q2 of 2021, the multifamily market in Delaware County was moving just as quickly as the single family market, with less than 30 days average days on market. So that is quite similar to what the single family numbers were for that period. Now, there were much fewer sales, but that goes par for the course with the housing stock. So there were 147 sales for June year-to-date 2021 in the multifamily class. And if you compare that with the 2020 sales June year-to-date, there were only 80. But as you know, the market and the real estate market overall was impacted by a short shutdown at the beginning of Q2 last year. And if you look across the 147 sales, about 40% of those sales were in 3 zip codes or municipalities: Upper Darby, Drexel Hill, and Lansdowne. That's pretty consistent where most of the multifamily homes are in Delaware County. But it's important to not just talk about Delaware County as a whole, because there's actually 43 municipalities. For those of you that are not familiar with the suburban county, there's 43 municipalities, and so I'm saying 40% of the sales came from 3 of those areas. So let's jump right into the charts. This first chart shows the overall trends of sales for multifamilies for the last 18 months. You can see the black line of sales is relatively stable, except for that dip around April or May when we had the shutdowns in this area. The green line shows listings, so these are new multifamilies that were put on the market for sale, and you see that there are some spikes and dips. I would conjecture that they go along with changes in sentiment about what was going to happen with the eviction moratoriums. You can see that there was quite a pickup in listings on market, starting at the end of Q1 into Q2, and you can see that line is well above the sold transactions, so that kind of also implies that there probably is a little bit more inventory of multifamilies on the market right now. In terms of pricing, I want to show you some trends June year-to-date 2021 versus the previous year. I'm going to focus on the 3 towns that have the most transactions to be a proxy of what the pricing trends look like. So you can see that Drexel Hill and Upper Darby both showed some appreciation in terms of price per unit, and that's a very important metric when you're looking at multifamilies, to be able to compare apples to apples, price per unit. While Lansdowne, the pricing has remained relatively flat year over year. In terms of where the overall final sales price has compared with the asking price, we have seen that there's, this is looking at June year-to-date 2021, that there have been quite a few transactions that went over at or over asking price. So that's what the red bar represents, the transactions that close with the final price being at least or more than the original asking price. The last chart I wanted to share is rental income. So most of the 2 to 4 families in Delaware County tend to be 1 and 2 bedrooms. There's some properties that have 3 bedrooms, but the majority, if you're trying to run your calculations, you would most likely be looking for rental comps of the 1 and 2 bedroom variety. And you can see that this price range, roughly between $870 and $1,200, really is in a good kind of moderate income attraction bracket for tenants. And so it's important to know that this is where the most demand is in the market in terms of there's more demand for tenants looking for rentals in this price range, which means if you can get a deal on a property, you won't have any problem finding a tenant. Before I wrap up, I do want to make one more point about rental properties right now, and the demand has continued to be strong, and that goes from single family rentals to the 1 and 2 bedroom unit rentals that are in the multifamily properties that I was just talking about. And that is good news for someone about to buy a new multifamily rental property, because you probably do have some room to push on the rent that the previous landlord was charging. So a lot of landlords and property managers are able to increase the rents on individual units right now, just because the demand is so high amongst tenants looking for decent places to live. And if you were thinking about buying a rental property or multifamily, living in one unit and renting out the other unit, you'll want to watch the video that's appearing on the screen now. Thanks again for tuning in to another video. If you have any comments, don't forget to leave them below. And as always, happy investing.